Okay, hey everyone, it's me, Cecia again. This time I have my friend Olivia. We're actually really close, and she's actually a high school teacher, right? A high school Spanish teacher.
Yes.
And so today I'm going to be asking her a series of questions, and I hope you guys are able to learn more about me and my friend Olivia. Okay? And so the first question I have for you is, what language do you teach?
I teach Spanish for high school, 9th graders, 10 and 11.
Okay. And so how long have you been teaching Spanish?
This is my 6th year.
Okay. So she has a little bit of experience now. I know that you used to teach in the Valley, or is that?
Yeah, I used to teach in the Valley,
Okay.
which is like 5 hours away from here.
Okay.
Edinburgh, McAllen, over there.
Okay.
And I used to teach middle school. So I've been
Okay.
teaching middle school, 7th and 8th grade, and high school.
Okay.
Right now I'm teaching high school.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so what type of motivation is there most noticed among your students?
I think it's the diversity that we have here in Houston especially, because they see how Spanish, like they need Spanish, like when they go to the store and they hear people speaking Spanish and they're like, what?
Yeah.
So, and they also know that like more doors can open for them if they know 2 languages or more than 2 languages.
Okay, so they see a lot of benefit in knowing 2
Yes.
languages. Okay, that's good to know. And then another question I have for you is, what strategies do you use to help your students want to learn Spanish?
I think using a lot of visuals, audios, like differentiating, not just teaching, like lecturing to them, but making it fun for them.
Mm-hmm.
And also I use a strategy about rotating. So I have like different
like
sections,
Okay.
and they rotate, and they have different things. Like in one of them, they might be able to speak. On the other one, they might be writing. On the other one, using internet or something with the internet. So they love that activity.
So you also apply differentiation, although it's a language class.
Yes.
It's not. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting, because I'm teaching math now, and they really focus on differentiation, but I thought it was just like core classes, but I didn't know that was something.
No, that's it for all the students. Like we all need to use that, because you cannot teach just one way.
Yeah, of
or
course.
just
Yeah,
for one
makes sense.
student, because we're all different, and
Okay.
they're all different. They learn differently.
Learn something new. Okay. And so how well do you think your students retain the language?
If they practice at home, if they're exposed to the language, they can be able to grab maybe 90%
Oh, wow.
of what I'm teaching them in the class. But if they're not exposed to the language, maybe it's like 50 or the most 50%, or
Probably
less than that.
less.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I was just like curious, because like I know, like with me, I have to practice at home. So like, do you maybe provide like something for them to do at home as well?
We have a lot of websites like Duolingo, and so
that's true.
they
Mhm.
use
They
use
can.
that, so they
Okay.
can practice at home and pronunciate words and stuff.
Okay, cute. Okay, I like that. All right, let's see. What do you see your students struggle to learn? Like, what's something that they struggle with in class? Or
Writing is one of the most difficult for them, because in Spanish we use accents and everything, so it's difficult for them. And plus the vowels are not the same, like the sounds are not the same in Spanish, so they get confused with that. But yeah, that's one of the most things.
I was talking to her about this earlier, and I thought that something that they would struggle with the most was like the pronunciation.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, because like the R's, like, they don't know how to roll their R's. But I didn't even think about the writing, which, yeah, now that I think about it, it's very difficult.
It is a writing, and pronunciation is not that hard whenever they start, whenever they learn the vowels, they know how to read. But if they don't know the vowels, they do not know how to read, they do not know how to pronounce. But writing is a totally different thing. Like, they struggle a lot with writing.
Okay. Let's see. And so, do you have any kinesthetic or visual ways to learn, or even like auditory? Like,
yes, that's like a must. Like, we have to use it, especially because they're learning a language. I cannot teach a language just by lecturing them or just giving them worksheets.
Mm-hmm.
They have to speak. They have to listen. They have to move around. They need objects. So we have to, even for their finals, Like we have interpersonal speaking, interpersonal listening, interpersonal writing.
Oh, wow.
And reading. So all those four, we have to include them in the finals or any test that we have. Because it's a language.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. I'm trying to remember because I took Spanish for native speakers in middle school, but I don't remember having all that. But I think it's because I was a native speaker that it wasn't as detailed, you know, it was just very straight to the point.
Yeah, and I think that's something that just Fort Bend is using right now. I don't know if other districts are using it or implementing that, but this is the first time, like as soon as when I started teaching at Fort Bend, they introduced that to me, but I had never, like, all my years that I was teaching, I never used that, and I feel like it's very helpful.
It's helpful.
We were used to sticking to the book,
and
just to teach what they have
from
on the book,
textbook,
from the textbook. But now you know that they train us how to help them to be able to have a conversation. I feel like that's more helpful for them.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's see. And so, how do you collect data to determine your students have mastered the learning targets?
They have their own self-assessments. So we call them can-do statements. So they get like a list of, at the beginning of, or in the middle of a unit, we give them the can-do statements. And for example, it says, I can ask personal questions. I can introduce myself. I can speak about likes. I can speak about dislikes. I can ask and explain, you know, to some what they like or what they don't like, and why do I like this and why don't I like this. So they have to like be honest with themselves and say, yes, I can, maybe with a little bit of help, not yet. So that's how they, you know, that's how I monitor what they're learning and what they need help on.
Okay, and so what about like when it comes to inputting like data like into the system? So would you grade based off of how they wrote it, or like how is it that you determine if someone was able to understand and comprehend the language?
We have different activities.
Okay.
So maybe I can have a speaking activity, and then I can have a writing activity, and then I can have a listening activity. So not only you're just focusing on the speaking or just the listening or just the writing, but you are grading all the different, you know, you touch all the different areas, and then you're able to see, okay, this student needs more help in listening, or this student needs more help in writing. So that's how you grade, and that way, you know, like you get a whole idea of what they know and what they don't know.
Okay, and so do you have like one-on-one with them, like to see where they are? Or do you do small groups?
We do small groups. We do presentations. We do individual activities.
Okay.
So, like they can have, like one exam that we had recently was just to pick 2 students, random students from the class, and come up here and have a conversation into like a 1-minute conversation. And it's out of nowhere, and they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, so they have to
speak.
Gotcha.
Without like memorizing, you know, their script or anything. It's just,
I like that. So it's like you have to make sure that you're constantly studying, because you never know when you're going to get
because you never know when you're going to get it. You're going to be called, you know. And so that is one example. And the other one is like, okay, I have a group of 3 students. They're going to present something, and they're going to be talking about a country. So they get together, they, you know, prepare everything, and they just present it to the class.
Oh.
So it can be group, it can be individual. So
that's funny. That I don't know how I'd feel if I got picked. Let's see. And so, do you think age has anything to do with how they've learned learned new language?
When it comes to Spanish, I don't think in the way they learn it, I think I don't think there's a difference.
There's a difference, okay.
Because, I mean, you can teach it the same way you teach a little kid how to learn the ABCs. That's the same way you are going to teach maybe a 13-year-old or 12,
okay,
18.
So you're saying that it's just as easy to learn, or not easy, but it's just the same to learn it when they're young and when they're older? Or do you think like it's easier to teach it when they're younger or when they're older?
I mean, based on, studies, they say that younger kids, they learn more. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe it does depends on the age, okay. But...
Well, see, because one of our textbooks, it stated that that apparently, like, older people are able to learn it faster, but younger kids are able to retain it longer. Like, it helps them in the long run. Okay. So, but I wanted to see if, like, you think that's true, or, like, what have you noticed in the classroom? And then another author stated that it's actually easier to learn before puberty. Okay. And so I was like, interesting, because I wonder if maybe by puberty they're maybe like a little bit more nervous, mm-hmm. and so they're already having hormonal body changes. So like the last thing that they want to do is like maybe learn another language. It could be like so many factors. So,
I think I cannot compare like my class because I haven't been exposed to teaching little kids. Okay. I've been just teaching the same age, so I don't know. But me as a student, I know I was learning English when I was in middle school. Okay. And it wasn't that hard in comparison with my brother, which he was in high school. Okay. And he had so much trouble. And, nowadays he has a lot of trouble speaking English. So maybe it has to do with the age. Yeah. Okay. Some people say it's the age. I don't know.
Yeah, no. And so, like, another thing is that they have supposedly a harder time developing, like, that English accent, or sometimes they'll have, like, an accent when they speak and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I was just, like, I was just wondering if you think that's true, like, but instead of learning English, like, learning Spanish.
Learning Spanish.
So... But you feel like it's, like, 50-50
Yeah, almost. Because I cannot compare them, I haven't...
had... like a big comparison.
Yes. Yeah. It's almost the same age, between the same age. So
yeah, because you did middle school and high school.
And high school. Okay. Yeah.
And so our last question is, how do you think extra linguistic information help our students with their acquisition? So like as far as like visuals and gestures, do you think that's actually helpful, or what is your view on that?
It's very helpful because you are touching all the types of all the different ways of learning. Mm-hmm. So you might have visual learners, or kinesthetic learners. That's me. Yeah, or you might have
I'm kinesthetic and visual.
Okay, or you might have just people that can listen. My husband, he doesn't even take notes. He can just be listening to you and he will remember. Yeah. I have to see it. I have to take notes. Yeah. So whenever you use linguistics, the more linguistic you use, the better, because your audience, it's bigger than just teaching the audience that learns visually, so it is very important.
And I can tell she's a lot of gesture, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but she keeps moving her hands. And I feel like I'm the same way, but I just feel like when I'm moving my hands, I can express myself better. And so,
recently, actually this week, I'm teaching classroom expressions and classroom commands. So I had to take my backpack and I was like, put your books away. So I had the book and I had to put it away, and they had to repeat after me.
Like in Spanish.
In Spanish, and they had to see it. But they had to see it. And then everybody had to get their stuff out, and everybody was doing it, repeating and looking at it. So
that's smart.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it helps you like think it as you're saying it, like okay, this is what this means. Putting it away. That's smart.
And sometimes I trick them, like I tell them like put the pencil away, and I get a book. Like after we review and everything, after I know I do that to see if they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And some of them are like, Miss Otelo, you said book, not a pencil. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I just funny. Want for them to make sure that they know what I'm saying.
That's good.
So, yes.
Okay, well guys, this wraps up the end of our video, and I hope you guys learned. If you have any suggestions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment, and I hope you guys learned something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Adios.
Adios.
Okay.